Good morning, everyone, and welcome to week 34 of PB Sports Talk Show. We're about 15 minutes late, and I apologize for that. There's always technical difficulties. We have our special guest coming up, Luke Pfromm, that I've promoted leading up to this moment. Apologize for the delay. We'll get Luke on here in just a moment. So, week 34, as I said, this will be a great conversation. You can expect more of these type of setups and interviews to come in the future, perhaps with former players, perhaps with former or current coaches, even some people that all of you out there might know who either played the game at a high level, college or pro, coached at the college or pro level, etc. So this is one step in that direction. I've wanted to do this with Luke for a while, and finally we're here. If you like what you're hearing here on the show, go ahead and comment, ask any questions that you'd like to ask. If you're a player or becoming a player, current player, former player, you're a coach, maybe you're thinking about coaching, anything you want to drop feedback, ask a question, you could do it right there on your screen. Please go ahead and follow PB Sports Talk on X at PB Sports Talks with an S, on Facebook at PB Sports Talk, and on YouTube at PB Sports Talk as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Luke Pfromm, former player of mine already 10, 11 years ago. Boy, time flies. Luke, welcome
Yes,
to the
sir.
show. Good to have you, buddy. How are you?
Good to be here. I'm good, Coach. How are you?
Doing good. We were talking maybe yesterday or the day before, and I was double checking your age, and you told me, I said, what, 24, 25? And then you said, no, I just turned 26, right?
Yeah, like 5 days ago.
Yeah. Happy belated birthday again. Man,
Thank you.
time flies. It feels like a lifetime ago that we spent so much time together in the gym, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It was a while ago,
Now,
but it seems I, I remember it. I remember it clear.
yeah. But now life really starts, right? Now the
Yeah.
bills, now the everyday life. It's not as much
hmm
time in the gym. We'll get to that in a minute. But again, it's so great to have you on here. Folks, I'm going to pull up some of Luke's accomplishments here on the screen so we can just kind of get an understanding of the background here with Luke. So, Luke played for me at St. Anne's Middle School in Warren, Michigan in 2013 2014 year changeover. Played for me on that team. He played for me on AAU and in camp. After he completed his eighth grade year with me, he went on to De La Salle High School, very, very well known, historic school in Warren, Michigan as well. He was a state champion for the football team, all state quarterback, two-time captain, set school records for season passing yards, single game passing yards, season points, and record for most wins in a season as a team. As a basketball player, 4-year varsity player, 3-year starter, all state in basketball as well, two-time captain, and two-time leading scorer. He is man, that's it's an incredible. When I De La Salle turns out a lot of athletes to be ranked in the top 15 all-time De La Salle player is it. Boy, that those are big words, and Luke worked his butt off. If I'm being honest with you, to accomplish such a thing. So really proud of him there. Then on into college at Wayne State University and Madonna College. He was a 2-year quarterback starter and captain at Madonna. School single game passing and total yards record holder. And then the only player to have a touchdown passing, rushing, and receiving. So quite a bit of accomplishments there, Luke. Congratulations on an amazing career through and what's not listed on there is we went basically to the CYO state championship in your eighth grade year, and as a 24-4 team, we were or 25-4 team entering in that game against 24-0 UAD. We came up a little bit short, but that was a heck of an accomplishment that's not on here as well. So incredible
It should
job,
be.
Luke. I'm so proud of you. I saw all that potential in you, and we'll talk to the audience about how I worked with you to prepare for something like this. But honestly, it actually makes me a little bit emotional to just when you put this in writing. It's one thing to think about it. It's another thing to actually look at it all placed together. So awesome, awesome job, Luke. Really proud of you, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So Luke, let's go back to lost you there for a second. Let's take this off of here. So let's go back to when we first met. I was the varsity 3 coach at St. Anne's, and you were on the
Yeah.
varsity 2 team at that time. I had a collection of 7th and 8th graders that weren't good enough to make the varsity 2 or the varsity 1 team. I believe that's how it went. But nevertheless, you were a level ahead, and I had a chance to watch you. And my goal was always to be able to coach the team that I knew that you would get to the next year. So that was always I was watching with a keen eye on your play, your behavior, your attitude, how you conducted yourself off the court, how you conducted yourself on the court. And I saw true talent, if I'm being honest. I saw tremendous, tremendous talent. But if I'm being honest with you, and I think I was then, and I'll be honest now, I saw some things that didn't match up with the talent, and you weren't getting, the full um, level. You weren't able to get to the full level if you didn't connect the two. Would you agree with that? Looking back now as a 26-year-old.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I can agree with that.
So I knew that if I was going to get you on my team, that some things had to seriously change. That I had to hold you accountable. That I had to raise the expectation and get you to work at a different level. And as things would have it, the stars aligned. I was promoted to get that job. I actually filled in a little bit at the end of that year through the playoff run. I had a chance to sit on Coach Bob Gillette's bench there and filled in. And then the next year, I was promoted to the top job. And do you recall what the first thing I did was, Luke? Once we knew
No.
that was going to take place, and folks, just to be honest here, Luke and I did a general overview of what the show was going to be. He's going to surprise me with some things, and I'm going to surprise him with some things. I wanted this to
Mhm.
be authentic and not in any way programmed programming, so to say. So, Luke, do you
Yeah,
remember what I was thinking of doing once I got that job?
I have no idea. No.
So what I did, Luke, is I wanted to get in touch with your father right away. And I wanted to tell your mom and dad, I wanted to tell them what my expectation of was with you, if I had their full support, and if they would be willing to back me if I pushed you to levels that you had never been before, and if you would be willing to keep your head in there and not in any way resist that, and that I would have their blessing to do that, and that they wouldn't resist. And I'll never forget your dad and his voice,
Mhm.
that hey, that type of voice there rings in my head. And
Yeah.
he said, I will do whatever is necessary to make sure that he does all that he needs to do to be the best he can for you. And it's from that moment that I knew that I had your parents' blessing to teach you and coach you with a different level of expectation than you ever had. So that was key. I had the athletic department's blessing as well, but I needed your parents to understand that this was going to be a whole new ball game, and I wasn't going to put up with any of the stuff before. So
Yeah.
so we did some off season work, didn't we? We did some
Yeah.
off season work leading up to that. Talk to the folks about that transition as the best you can remember it, coming from who you played for, and then what I was trying to implement for us as a team at that time, and with you.
Sure. So, the way I remember it, St. Anne was we had a lot of talent um, in seventh, eighth grade, and the year before, the coaches were really we could just walk out on the court and win by 20, and just with the talent that we had. Um, so we kind of were really lackadaisical, and I know that drove you nuts seeing people walk around and jerseys untucked and stuff like that. So that's something that you wanted to change for sure. And you know what you just told me makes a lot of sense because I remember you did bench me and you did strip the captaincy, and I didn't handle it well. I was, being a baby, and went to my parents, and they were on your side, and I never knew why, but that makes sense. In the car, they're like, "Just stop!" Like I didn't understand it, and they said, "You just got to do better. You got to work harder." And
Yeah.
so,
So
yeah, I don't know.
what I think Luke is referring to is early on, we always had two captains on the team. He was named as one of the two captains. And again, for me, it was always a high expectation. It was always to bring maximum effort. It was always to grow, to learn, to evolve. And I would never settle as a coach for less than what all of us could do together, is starting with myself. And so, Luke had a tendency prior to coming along to coasting and relying on just his ability to pull him out of certain things. And the team was doing that as well. And so we played 30 games that year. 20 is on the schedule, but we scheduled 10 non-league games. And all of those 10 non-league games were against teams that we don't play in the regular season, but one in particular, one specifically
Sorry.
was UAD Jesuit. About halfway through the season, I knew that if we played to our full potential, that we would play them again. And the only time we could possibly play them again is in the finals, in the championship game with all the marbles. So I scheduled that game to basically, I felt that we would get our doors blown off, if I'm being honest. And I've done videos about that in the past. That's exactly what happened. It was a deer in headlights. We lost by 21. And what Luke's referring to is I didn't like his performance as a leader on our team. Not so much the result of the performance, but the effort that went into the performance wasn't up to the standard of the team, nor was it up to the standard of a captaincy, nor was it up to the standard of what he should have expected of himself and I expected of him. And so we were doing so well going into that game. Again, that's kind of what I knew was going to happen. But the other side of that was, how did we play in that moment? We didn't do well. And I took Luke's captaincy away right after that game. And I think it sent a message to him, as he just mentioned. And I honestly didn't know about that until just now, about that conversation in the car. And I think it sent a striking message to the team. So Luke, continue that after that happened, and you went in the car, and what it took to get that back, and how you went through that process when you were fighting it mentally, and how you overcame that, because that's really important for young players to understand.
Sure. So I would say I had a bad mentality as far as the, I thought that I was just the best, and there was no way, no matter how I acted or played or whatever, that I had the mindset of he's going to take me out, and you did, and I was a shock a little bit, like wow. Um, but yeah, my dad's he's a tough guy, and he was never really easy on me as far as things like that. So the conversation it wasn't really a conversation. It was just me voicing how I felt about it, and him pretty much saying, "Shut up, work harder, like stop complaining, do better. Like you missed 3 free throws today, maybe that's why." So yeah, you just got you can't think you're. I was young in my defense, but it comes from a place of I thought that I was better than I think I really was. So
And that's part of the maturation process for sure. So so you had thought that leading up to that point. With our experience together, is that the first time, from a coach's perspective, that you were challenged in that way?
um, yeah, aside from my father when I was young, but yeah,
From a
definitely
coaching perspective,
for sure.
uh, did you play for your dad when you were really young in a sport?
He coached me when I was a kid. Yep,
Okay,
but
so
it was obviously it was different. It was yeah, it was different. And then at
yes,
St. Anne, it felt like being in eighth grade. That was your whole universe. I wasn't thinking about college or maybe even high school at that. But so it felt like the big stage. So getting kind of humbled where it's most important to you was yes, that was a first time thing for sure.
yeah. How long would you say that mentality or that attitude of I can't believe that just happened, and how can that be done to me? How long would you, and I know that's a long time ago, but how long would you say that went on in your mind?
I'm not sure that it ever left. Um, I think it's still there. I think with work and with even through high school, I hit some bumps, and college obviously, I hit some bumps, and there's just yeah, you just gotta approach it a different way. I think I approached it a different way to be. Um, unignorable, I guess, or make it so I can't be disciplined, I guess.
Hmm. Really, that's a great way of saying it. And the fact that you still, it sounds like you go back to that moment or that type of, I guess, experiences help guide you in your life. And if I'm being honest, that was what I was trying to do. It wasn't just about us as a team. It wasn't just about the victories. You know, my job was to help build young men. And then, of course, you went on to the high school that has it printed on the wall, right, in the gym.
Mm.
Builders, how's it go? Tell our listeners.
Builders of boys, makers of men.
Exactly. So I had that mentality that was part of my role was to help get you ready for something like that. And I had a bit of a similar journey when I was younger. And so I pulled from that, from my youth and how I was coached and how my parents um, taught me, and then tried to pass that on to you. So that actually is really great to hear. And it's so different now, 10 years later. We thought it was a certain kind of way 2013, 14. It's even harder now in terms of that entitled mentality
Oh,
and
yeah,
players wanting to do whatever they want. And it's like I am who I am and you can't tell me anything. So
yeah,
hopefully you're not the last era of people that can be talked to like that and learn from it.
yeah. It's looking. I don't know. There might be a few of us left, but I don't know. It's few and far in between for sure.
Yeah. So take our listeners through from that moment after that UAD scrimmage when we lost, by a lot, and we kind of got shell shocked, and how we went back to it and how we built from there as a team. And in the best of your memory, tell everybody your thoughts on that.
In the best of my memory, I think for me it became a more of a game with myself. Like I was focused on the things that I had to do a lot more than I was at the beginning of the year. I kind of just wanted to play at the beginning of the year, and, play with my friends and stuff like that. But by the end of the year, I noticed, I never really thought about this, but at the beginning of the year, I didn't think anything of it. And then by the end of the year, I was looking up in the stands and seeing which high school coaches were there, and making sure that I hustled and got on the floor when Coach Essler was at the game. Um, just stuff that I really didn't care about in the beginning. So I remember really making a turn into, uh, I guess, just it meaning more and taking it more seriously. And I mean, we were a really good team, so that helped.
Yeah. One sec there, Luke.
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. Can you repeat that
No,
last
you're good.
part? Coach Essler in the
Um,
stands and
yeah, just so at the beginning, I know at the beginning of the season, I didn't care about any of that kind of stuff. I just wanted to play basketball with my friends. And then by the end of the year, I was scoping out the stands, seeing what coaches were there, and if Essler was there, I really wanted to go to De La Salle. So seeing Essler made sure I was hustling, I was on the floor, I was making a good impression, and that was just things that I didn't think about early until that point. And then I was saying we were a really good team though, so it did help.
yeah. And so after that UAD game, some of the mindset changed. I think it changed as a team. We won every single
Yeah.
game from that moment forward. Got all the way to the championship game after going through, the gauntlet against St. Lawrence and a number
Hmm.
of other teams winning districts, winning regionals, winning East Side Championship, and we get in that game against UAD, who was 24-0. They're obviously a powerhouse school, and that's the breeding ground for UAD High School. And so we knew we were up against it. Got down by 19 at half and stormed all the way back. And you've got a pretty famous video out there where you helped us come back with a 2-point bucket and then a steal and a three and cut that lead to 6. Place was going crazy. I'll never forget that. So we fell a little bit short. We cut it to 2, and then we ended up losing by 4. But the experience, and I loved you guys forward is the way that we fought, which we didn't do that in midseason in that scrimmage, but we did do it with everything on the line and everybody had each other's back, and it was just a really special moment for all of you for as a team, and it was such a proud moment in my life to see you guys grow through something like that, even through defeat or an L. You can truly still win, and I think we did that. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree, and I would agree that it sent a handful of good athletes on the right path, into high school. There was a few of us that benefit from that.
Yeah. So this I'm really interested about this part. So you had said a little bit ago that you had wanted to go to De La Salle, and you ended up going to De La Salle. What would you say is the main reasoning you wanted to go there in the first place? What drew you to it?
Um, I think it was when I think I was eighth grade. My dad took me to a game in Bill Fox at De La Salle, and it was UD versus De La Salle. Um, and it was a madhouse, standing room only. It was every bucket, UD bucket. There were De La Salle Brozone was chanting at him. Every De La Salle bucket, the place erupted, and I honestly wanted to be a part of the student section at first. I was like, I'll be in there for a couple years. I never got a chance to do that, but yeah, just the atmosphere. I think at first,
So you wanted to be a part of that, and so you obviously left St. Anne's. You were enrolled in over at De La Salle, and at that point in time, as I recall, you had a love for football, and you obviously had a love
mhm.
for basketball. How did you go through that process in deciding to do both, one or the other? What was maybe one maybe more important? How did that all work out? Because I'm really curious to hear this.
Well, I'll add, back then it was baseball too. I played baseball all the way through sophomore year, so I was juggling all three. And I think it was it's harder. It's a hard thing to do when nowadays you play baseball in the season and then travel in the summer. Basketball is in the winter, and then AAU in the summer, and then football is fall, and then workouts in the summer. So your summers, you're playing all three, and then it was a lot. And I think a lot of that wear and tear on the body caught up to me in college, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I just loved them all. I grew up watching my brothers, my sister play, and playing with them and all their friends, and that's just been a part of me. I can play. I always want to play a sport, so I never didn't want to go to practice or anything like that.
So you narrowed it down to just football and basketball. After
Yeah,
what age or what grade?
sophomore year of high school,
Okay. And then how'd you approach it after that? You said, I want both of these. I'm going to give 100% to both.
I did. Yep, I would do two in one day. Essler he didn't like sharing um, athletes, and hopefully he doesn't see that because he likes to say that he does like to share athletes, but he doesn't. And I would go to summer basketball. I would go to football workouts in the morning. Then we would have our summer runs at Macomb, and I would miss a pull up, and he would be on the sideline. Just keep lifting weights. That's what happens. That's what happens when you're lifting weights. Like you throwing your shot off, just heckling me from. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to play two sports, and but I don't know. I balanced it and kind of honestly adjusted my game a little bit in basketball. I like to shoot too much. I kind of turned into a little bit. I like to drive, use my body. So, you know, it's just I never really thought about it. So
So from a physicality standpoint, it sounds like it helped you in terms of change your game a
for
little
sure.
bit. You were playing a little bit more of a physical brand of basketball, right? You were more willing to bang inside. You felt like you had the more of the body composition to do that.
Yeah, well, let me say this. So playing at De La Salle, I'll go 2 games in a row. What it was Orchard Lake St. Mary's. I was getting guarded by Josh Ross, for 4 quarters, and he had his face in my chest for 4 quarters. Josh Ross ended up playing 4 years of middle linebacker at Michigan. Just big, stocky, motor, strong. I was like tall and skinny, and he was just throwing me around. And then go on to the next game. You remember Elijah Collins and Scott Nelson, both D1 football players, double teaming me. Like, how am I supposed to get to the basket when I'm just getting knocked off, you know? So definitely tapped in with my brother and got stronger. And yeah.
And your brother was always, even when he played for Cousino, right?
Yeah.
And he was a little bit thicker than you were, right? At like,
Yeah.
if you compare him as a freshman to you as a freshman, he was a little bit thicker, right?
Yeah. He was thicker. He wasn't chubby at all. He didn't have any fat on him. He was ripped always.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
So
how, but
so you figured to be more successful and to truly reach your full potential, that you had to get stronger, and you felt like football was a great avenue to do that, right?
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
how about the injury aspect of it? And so if you remember when we were at St. Anne's, all of us coaches, we all understand that playing more than one sport is extremely beneficial from a athletic standpoint, from a communication standpoint, from learning different things. It's really critical. But from Coach Essler's standpoint about what you just laid out is the muscle development. If it's done in an incorrect way, it can affect the whole flow or the whole form of one's shot, which I think you alluded to. And there's also injury concerns that can happen and bleed over from season to season. If you remember Blake and what happened with him with his leg, or Blaine, excuse me, what happened
Blaine,
with
yeah.
him with his leg, he missed part of our season. He missed some of our off-season development.
Yeah.
Did that ever affect you? One overlapping the other?
I think I had something every season
Did you
for
miss
always.
any significant period of time as a result of a
Mm,
football injury or
No,
basketball injury? No. Okay.
no. I just played. I hurt my knee pretty bad in the state championship. Um, I actually tore my patella tendon, but it wasn't torn all the way through. It was just I don't know what it's called, but I didn't
Ruptured,
need
maybe?
surgery or anything right away. Or I tore it, and then we had summer league basketball 2 days later after the state championship for football. So I was there playing, and then I just got surgery after the season.
Okay, so most people in Michigan, doesn't even have to be the Warren area. Everybody's familiar with who Coach Greg Essler is. He's a basketball legend in the state. As you went from St. Anne there, you knew he was in the stands. You knew you wanted to be in that environment. Tell our listeners what it was like to start the process with Coach Essler, because you obviously had heard one thing, and you heard a lot of things. But then when you're actually in the system, you start to recognize other things. Tell us some of your thoughts on that and how that was to enter into that.
Um, First off, I have nothing but love for Coach Essler. We butt heads a lot through 4 years. Um, there was but it was all for the best. Kind of the same approach that you took back in the day. Of I don't know why people feel like they need to pull it out of me, but they take it pretty far. He took it pretty far a couple times, but it all worked out in the end. I just remember going to it was freshman basketball tryouts. Everybody was talking all day in school about it, and everyone's all excited. And I had no idea. I just wanted to make the freshman team, and we were doing layup lines just to warm up. And Essler, who at the time, it's funny looking back because he was like this larger than life guy, and now I'm whatever. So he walks in the gym, and everyone straps up, tucks their shirts in, and he pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, go call your mom, um, and see if you can stay after this tryout for the varsity tryout." And I was like, "No way, that's insane." My mom just grounded me though, so I was like, "Can I borrow your cell phone?" My mom took mine away, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." Give me his phone, and so I called my mom, and she was super excited, and yeah, I stayed and played varsity, and that was it. That was the end of that.
Yeah, so going back to something you just said a couple of moments ago, us as coaches, there's something very key that all coaches who are organized in their thoughts understand is that we don't put greatness in players, we pull it out. And
Mhm.
sometimes the manner in which we have to pull it out of certain people is different from one player or person than it is, versus another. And you're a very laid back guy, and sometimes it
Mhm.
didn't always look or appear that you took things seriously. And I experienced that, and I'm sure that he experienced that. But
Yeah.
he, like him at that level, knew what buttons he had to push, what strings he had to pull to get Luke to be the next best version of Luke. And then once he got to that level, or you got to that level, how he can help you get to the next level. Looking back
Mhm.
now, does that make more sense and why he pushed you and was difficult in those ways?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense looking back. Just in the time, in at the time, coming off the state championship in football, I felt like I don't know. First day
On
back,
top of the
he's
world?
on me. Yeah,
You thought
and
you were
I
on
went
top of the
from
world.
that. Yep, and first day or 2 days later, we're at summer league, and he was dogging me. I'm like, dude, I don't need to be here right now. Like, I should be celebrating. All my friends are, but there was no. It makes sense now, for sure.
How'd you
He
get
had a
through
big, he
that?
had big plans for that season.
Did you think about what you just said, that there was big plans for that season, that would make it your senior year, is that right?
Yep.
So is that how you got through this, I don't really even wanna be here, I wanna be with my friends, I wanna be celebrating what just happened, and now you're dogging me, as you said it, or you're
Mm.
pushing me, and you didn't understand it. What got you through that? How did you get past that thought process?
Um. Well, excuse me. He said, you know, he, well, there was one time early in the season we butt heads a lot, like I said. And there was one time in the season we it felt like we were feuding constantly. That senior year, in the beginning at least, because he wasn't too happy that I played football. Um, Again, he would never admit that, but he didn't like it. He was probably sitting in the stands hoping I didn't get hurt or whatnot. It came from a good place, I'm sure. But um, yeah, so there was a day where honestly, kind of similar to what happened with us. We played in like an Operation Friendship game that didn't mean anything. I was banged up and I just didn't take it serious at all. And he did the same thing. The following day, I was on the second team for the first time in 3 years, and I reacted poorly. I didn't, it didn't pull anything out of me. I was like, if you want to go, if you want to do this, then whatever. I already got my state championship. If you want to throw this season away, which looking back is terrible, terrible mindset. But um, we had a meeting. He brought in dodgeballs and let the whole team play dodgeball, and me and him sat in the office face to face for like 2 hours, and he just laid everything out about what you know I need to do day to day, and how this is something like he laid out our playoff path and said we can do these kind of things if you do this, and I guess it just clicked for me. Like we stopped feuding. It seemed like we were partners.
If you can, I know the football versus basketball thing was a feud, without revealing private conversation and such. Is there another area, uh, something that you could point to as to why you were feuding? Was it effort related? Was it attitude related? Share what you can without revealing that. I mean, that's private between you and him.
No, that's fine. There was no effort or anything like that. It was just the um, very different personalities, and he reminded me kind of my dad as far as what he says. He doesn't want to say something twice, and I was a captain, and there's some kids on the team that need to hear something twice, and I was just I I think I was the only kid on the team that wasn't scared of him because of who my dad was. And playing with you in 8th grade, I would question him and I would, say that we ran that last week and that did not work. It's been working for 50 years. You come in here and think, and I was just like, we just butt heads and we wouldn't really back down from each other. And
So it sounds like you challenged certain decisions that he made, maybe because you didn't understand it, and you pushed him back. You resisted.
yeah,
Is probably a good word, right?
yeah, which he liked. I think he definitely liked it. He just it was a good thing for us for sure. For as far as for a team, you know, there was no disrespect or anything. I wasn't walking out of practice or anything like that. It was just um, a lot of disagreements.
How did the team? I'm curious, and I think our listeners would be curious. How did you said he brought in dodgeballs, and the whole team did
Yeah,
dodgeball, and you met for 2 hours separately.
yeah,
How do you think
yeah.
the team took to that later that day or the next day? Why they were doing that, for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and you were in a meeting with him?
I never thought about it. I think, um, well, everyone was asking me what was said, what was said, and there was probably a little bit of I don't want to say jealousy, but questions as far as like why were you the one in there or whatever. But I don't know. I just told everybody that we weren't getting along, so we had a conversation, and it kind of it kind of went away. They were happy to be. Greg asked their practice. If you're showing up for that practice and you see dodgeballs, you're not asking any questions. You're happy for a break.
Was there any were there any assistants in that meeting with you and him, or just you and him one on one?
Just me and him.
So how did it go after that in terms of what point of the season was this? At the very beginning?
Um, I believe it was, yeah, pretty early. It was like the Christmas tournament or something like that. So
All right,
very
and then
early.
how did it go from there?
From there, like I was saying, it felt kind of like a partnership, which brought in more disagreements because I would say you said that we're going to do it this way or whatnot, and we're really close, and we got really close after that year. But I think he invested a lot in me, putting me on varsity as a freshman over everybody else, and then riding with me through the 4 years. So I kind of felt, you know, obligated to give it. That's what my dad told me too. That was the advice from my dad. He said, this guy. Think about 4 years ago when you were just a little skinny kid in that gym. He took a chance on you, said, "Come up to varsity," and now you're here. Like, don't ruin that. Don't spoil that. You got a chance to do something special too, because again, we were a really good team, and
Mhm.
so,
And I
yeah,
think
I just didn't want it to go to waste.
Yeah, and I think that's great perspective, Luke, and it's so important. I don't think the young people understand that today. I think it's totally at a 3x, 5x worse today, the mentality than it was when you went through what you went. A lot of guys would just walk out of that office, and I think
Oh
your
yeah,
dad gave you some great advice, and you stayed the course because listen, I'm not totally familiar with the situation, but I have a very deep understanding of what a coach goes through in making those decisions,
mm,
and he put himself on the line for you.
yeah,
And there's a lot of politics involved, and there's a lot of parents, and
right,
there's a lot of pressure when you make that decision for one, and you can't make it for everybody. It has to bear fruit. It has, when I say bear fruit, it has to show that there was sense. It has to show common sense to the public, even if you understand it as a coach and a player. The outside doesn't always see it that way, and I think
right.
he needed to have that work in such a way to where it reflected good on the school, on him, on you, on the whole process, because that's a big jump. I mean, who really gets that as a freshman for 4 years at De La Salle? It doesn't really happen.
No, it's a small number for sure.
Yeah. So that was truly a blessing, and that was a big leap of faith in him and you. So overall, how did the season go in terms of wins and losses that year?
It was good. It was a good year. We went, I think, I want to say like 18-6 or something like that. We were a good team. We lost to some really good teams as well. And sorry, hold on. So what's funny is we played UAD 13 times in high school. I did at least, and we lost 13 times. And we played them with you twice and went 0-2. So coming up to senior year, we get our, we had a good year. We had a good season. We lost to UAD twice already. Uh, Three times. Sorry, we lost them three times in senior year. Two times in regular season, and then Catholic League championship. So 0-13, we get our playoff draw, and to go to the Final Four, we have UAD at Callahan Hall, where we've lost to them so many times, and so it was just like a bow on a present. Like everything just lined up to where that was like all the work and everything. Like that was the only game that mattered. People have asked me what meant more, beating UAD or winning a state championship. The basketball game against UAD, it's not even close. 0-15, 1-16, and won the only one that really mattered. So that was huge.
That's
That was awesome.
wow. And you probably felt like, hey, I had to get at least one,
Yeah, we
before
got them for
I
you.
check out of this thing.
It started
That's a
with
cool
back with
story.
you, and we finally got them.
So you go through that process. Football was you were then to go into your senior year of football following that, yes? Or had you already
The
completed?
opposite.
Okay,
Already
you had
finished it.
already completed. So that was the end for you at De La Salle. That
Yep.
was the last hurrah. There was no baseball. There was nothing else. And
Yep.
how did you feel as a person when you thought of the 4 years? I'm sure it was emotional around the end of the
Yeah.
season. I'm sure beating UAD was emotional, losing the next week, right? You guys lost the
Yep.
next game.
Lost Final Four.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's emotional. So as you just took it all in, talk to everybody about what that felt like.
Wow, that was the best. It was the best. I mean, yes, it was emotional, but wrapping up the season after everything that we just did, it kind of finally set in because we didn't get a break from football to basketball. So it went from we came out of nowhere. We were projected to finish last in the Catholic League, and we won the state championship. It was that was truly an amazing season, the football season. 2 days later, basketball season started. We had one party. Didn't really let anything set in. Um, and as you know, basketball is a marathon, man. That's like 5 months. So it felt like finally after that, it was all culminated together. Like we could talk, and it was grad party season, so we're all just sitting around talking about what we just did, and sounding like it was 2 years ago, but we're like, we really just did that this year. That was a great year. I felt like I did more than what I anticipated doing as an athlete. So I was happy.
And so yeah, so you had a chance to reflect, and it kind of all hit you, the enormity of the 4 years. And look, it's all special, it's all those things, but to play at that level, even though it's high school, it's a grind. When I say it's a grind, you
Mhm.
just said you go from one sport to the other sport in 2 days, and there is no
Mhm.
let up. It's not even like you get a chance to enjoy it. You do, but it's on to the next. That is the nature of what sports has become. Uh, Even at the younger levels than that, this is happening in AAU. This is happening in late middle school, obviously high school. It's very taxing. The off-season workouts, what goes well, see, for you were playing football. It's not like you were only playing basketball, but there's an
Yep.
off-season component to the football program, and there's still an off-season component to the basketball program. Talk to people about when you're not on the field or you're not on the court, what that's like to go through.
Um, What do you mean in the off season?
in the off season of both sports to stay
Oh,
at
I got you.
to grow your level, to grow your conditioning, to grow your body, physical, conditioning, getting yourself ready for whatever that sport is in the off season?
Yeah. So I would say my advice would be for athletes trying to do something like that. Uh, Focus on your it's make it position based for certain things. Like if you're I was a quarterback, so I didn't need to be killing myself on the squat rack and bench press and then getting shots in. I could go work on plyometrics and stuff and then hit it hard in the gym on the court after that. Instead of if you're a linebacker, I don't know. It's hard to balance. You got to figure out a way um, that gets you to the next day. You can't burn yourself out, but you can't take days off, and it's a hard thing to balance for sure. But you can do it.
With that type of rigorous schedule of two demanding sports, and like you said, basketball is a marathon, basically 5 6 months. How much time in months would you say that you actually weren't playing basketball or football in some capacity? So you weren't in the gym and an off-season basketball workouts, or in some 7-on-7 drills in some at some facility. How much
Yeah.
downtime did you actually have?
Uh, Not
A month?
a month. No, maybe like 3 days
Three
in the
days of
year.
downtime in an entire year.
Yeah, that I wasn't going to at least going to get some shots up. Yeah, three like
So
my
what are you
birthday and
talking, like
Christmas.
Christmas and Thanksgiving?
No, we had practice every Christmas at 8 in the morning.
Oh my goodness. He had you practicing on Christmas morning?
Hmm.
How'd you feel
Yeah,
about
I think we
that?
had Christmas Eve off. Christmas Eve off, or I didn't care. It was basketball season, so you know you do
And
what
how
you got
long
to
were your
do.
practices with
Um,
Essler?
it
2?
depends on his mood. We probably two, yeah, probably two, but
Average of 2 hours?
sometimes, yeah. But we've had some where we would go in and we'd be having bad effort for the first 10 minutes, and he would just kick everybody out. So it'd be a 10-minute practice, or he would have us stay longer because we were doing bad, or we were doing good, and he would say, "This is good. Let's keep it going," and run late, and it was kind of all over the place.
Would he maybe
But
throw in some film study and surprise you on that?
yeah, yeah, sometimes some film, but like with the Catholic League, we played everybody like I was saying, senior year we played. It was my 15th time playing UAD. Like we know what they're gonna do. They know what we're gonna do, and
It's
so it's
about
like Catholic
execution.
Central. Yeah, it's just yeah, and you gotta make your shots. That's it. Are you gonna make your shots on Friday night or not?
Yeah, like Mark Jackson says all the time, it's a make or miss league, right? I mean, it sounds so
Yeah,
basic,
that's
but
it.
it's what it comes down to. You can have the best plays drawn up, but
Yep,
it comes down to execution and those makes and stops. It's really that simple.
absolutely,
So you've
absolutely.
gone through the De La Salle 4 years. You've had a tremendous athletic career. Something made you want to go to college and continue that on. Talk to us about how you chose Wayne State, and what your thoughts were there. Was it a basketball thing? Was it a football thing? How'd that go?
Um, so I will say this: I'm not really one to make excuses, but I didn't play football my junior year um, or sophomore year. So I was only one my senior season. So all the coaches that were coming into the school to talk to me wanted to give me a walk on. They said we already got our quarterback for this class, so you can walk on and earn a spot. And Wayne State offered me the money for free and told me, play, and if you do good, transfer out. So it pretty much is 3 all the way around, which was sounded good to my dad. So we did that. Um, we went there, and there was also talks that I could play basketball too at Wayne State, which I really liked. Um, it didn't. I ended up getting hurt, and then that was a domino effect. So from the start, though, um, yeah, I think I chose football just because I've obviously been asked this a lot, but I say if I was a tight end or a linebacker, I would have played basketball. But being a quarterback, it's the best position in sports. It's your game, and I didn't want to leave that yet.
So Wayne State offered you basically a 2-year scholarship.
Um, it was it was a 4 year, but it was just kind of the idea. They sold me on the idea of well, don't walk on somewhere and earn a scholarship. Come play here, get some film, and then do what you want to do.
So
So
you did that. You didn't play basketball due to injury. You played 2 years of football for Wayne State. Is that right?
one, and then the injury. So
Okay,
one.
one and then the injury, and then you transferred to Madonna. Is that right?
Yep.
How'd you arrive at that school and at that time? Um, what what
So there
what
was a
brought you to that
coach.
decision?
Yep, there was a coach that coached at Eastern Michigan and was recruiting me at Eastern Michigan, and he got the head coaching job at Madonna, and he contacted me and said, "Hey, you know, I'm getting the job there. Come with me and kind of keys to the kingdom kind of thing. Like, will like help me pick the recruits, what receivers you want, what linemen you want." And it was a newer program, so it was you'd be the first to do everything. Um, and I was scheduling workouts with other schools. I was on crutches, and I was scheduling visits with other schools, and they were saying, "Yeah, we want to see you work out," but I was on crutches. And this one Madonna, this coach said, "Just we don't need to. You don't need to work out, man. Like I've seen you and whatever. Just come visit." So I went, and I liked it. It was cool. So I ended up going there.
Are you able to share what other schools would have been interested and that wanted you to work out without crutches? Obviously, if you weren't on crutches.
Um, all of the GLIAC schools. So everything, even with Wayne State, which would have been Grand Valley, Saginaw Valley, not Fair State. I didn't talk to Fair State, but yeah, Grand Valley, Saginaw Valley, um, Michigan Tech, Northern Michigan, those schools, and it was like those the ones up north are far. So it was if you're gonna come out here, you might as well work out. And I was on crutches for a year. So
And so Madonna was basically a longtime soccer school. Is that right? And really didn't have a football program. Is that how that went?
yeah, I don't know soccer, but they've been good in baseball, and I know baseball, maybe soccer too. I'm not sure, but yeah, they just started this program.
And overall, the 4 years of college sports, how was that all in all for you? Did it feel the same as high
Um,
school?
no,
Did it wear itself? Did you still enjoy it?
I enjoyed. Yeah, and you're asking good questions. I never thought about this, but I enjoyed the same things that I enjoyed the most about high school, and that was seeing improvement is one. Seeing those when you get up at 5 a.m. and you go work out for 3 weeks, seeing the numbers in the weight room go up, and seeing your 40 time go down. That's the best feeling ever because you built that yourself. You chiseled yourself to be able to do that. Um, and then also just time with friends, like camaraderie. It's always been my favorite part. And my roommate at Madonna. I'll say this: do you remember Keith Larson?
Yeah.
I'm in Florida. I moved to Florida, so he was just out here visiting me for my birthday. Nick Bond was here a couple weeks ago. My roommate in college that I just met through college football. I'm best man in his wedding in this summer. all of my people are from sports, and I feel like I have a really good, really solid group of friends, and it's all due to um, athletics or sports.
So you just told me something I didn't know, and I think I'm going to tell you something that you didn't know. I live in Florida now, full time.
No way.
Yes. I
Where?
did not know you were in Florida. Where are you at?
I'm in Tampa.
I'm in Fort Myers,
All right, it's like
2 hours
2 hours, something
away.
like that.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Yeah, we could have done this in person. We didn't have to.
No
Yeah,
kidding, man. Next time we'll do another one. So
yeah,
did
for
you miss
sure.
basketball through that process?
Did I miss basketball?
Did you miss in college? You didn't play basketball, right? At all.
Right, right.
Did you really miss that?
Yeah, basketball is the best. To play for fun, like pick up and well, when you get, you'll never find a better feeling than when you get hot. You know what I mean? When you hit 5 or 6 in a row and the rim looks huge, you can't miss. That's the
Like an
best
ocean.
feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can go play 5 times and never feel it, but I'm always seeking that out. And
The
yeah, I
zone.
miss that big time.
The
Yeah,
zone. But you have that in football too, right? When you're hitting
yeah,
moving
for sure.
targets and you're getting them in rhythm, you're getting them on the run, you're leading a guy. I mean, that's probably a similar feeling. I never experienced that as a player, but I experienced the first part of what you said. But is it similar that way for a quarterback?
Yeah, except you get knocked down every
Yeah,
time.
someone's ready. Someone's trying to take your head off.
Yeah, you're not, instead of walking back on defense talking because you just hit 4 threes in a row, you're picking grass out of your face mask and cracking your back.
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's different, but yeah, no, you're right though. You definitely get into a zone.
So you mentioned something to me yesterday as we were just doing a very little bit of show prep. I wanted to make sure to get this story out because I had forgotten all about it, and you reminded me yesterday. And I'm actually going to admit losing to you, or you're going to tell the story about how I lost to you. But back in at St. Anne's, what was that whole thing about the jersey? Tell everybody about that.
So we had a game or something like that, and me
We'll
and my family stopped
start
at
with the number and how you were awarded that number and why.
number 3.
32.
Okay, so well, yeah, my gym bag was in the car. Car got broken into, and they stole my gym bag. So I lost my uniform, and we it was a Christmas tournament
You
because I
guys
needed.
were at Azteca, weren't you?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy that I remember it, but I do.
yeah, yeah. And I
By
just remember thinking my
Oakland
mom's
Mall.
freaking out. In Roseville,
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
pretty
Roseville.
sure.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not. Yeah. Wait, no, I don't remember. I was in 8th grade, but
That's all right.
my so the thing was my niece was with us, and she just got all her Christmas presents in her. So they took that too, and I was just fired up because I was like, I need shoes for this season, so I got to get a whole new pair of shoes. So that was cool. But yeah, so my jersey was gone, and I needed one. The following day, we had a championship game against Bates Academy. You remember that?
I do. My
Yeah,
now
that was
wife,
awesome.
that's the first date that we went on that evening. So I have to remember that. She came
Oh
and
wow,
watched that game. She showed up at halftime, but she came and watched that game. And that after that game was our first date. So
that's
I
awesome.
remember
Yeah.
Bates about how bad they were going to beat us and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
remember that well. I remember being in a completely different mode. And then I remember going
Mhm.
on the first date with my now wife at that time. So yeah, I remember Bates Academy.
Yeah. All fired up. Yeah, so yeah, but, I don't know how it went. I don't know if you just gave me a jersey but it was number 32 with the jersey you gave me. I don't know if I had to do something for it or not, but you just said it was like, this was my number, like, respect it, make it look good or whatever, and I was like, "Yeah, whatever. I want my jersey. I want number 3 back." I'm like, what if I just take the 2 off? I was so stubborn. I just wanted to be number 3. Um, and you were like, we're 32, you know, that's a good number. So we played, won the championship. I had number 32 on. I had my brother's red Cosno basketball shoes on with our green uniforms. And we won though. And that was cool. But practice, I think the next week I gave you hell for about a week. Like I'm just gonna wear this practice jersey like with number 3. I'm number I don't
Oh
know.
man, I remember that.
I don't know why it was such a big deal to me, but it was. And you told me that just probably to get me to shut up because there's probably no way you thought I would win. You said we're gonna do a 3-point contest, and I don't remember the contest, but I know that had end with a half court shot at the BRAC, and so we did some. I don't know if you had to make like you got like 5 threes and then a half court shot, and whoever made the most won or whatever. But I won on the half court shot, and the whole team went crazy, and you weren't happy. You were
How in the
upset,
world did I
but
get you another number 3? Do you remember that?
I have no idea. You might have bought it.
Yeah, I did. They don't. There's not a whole bunch of number 3s laying around in that school. I'm not sure how I
No,
pulled it off. We probably special ordered one for you.
I think you had to because you lost.
Yeah, you're probably right. So yeah, that
Yeah,
was a fun story. Those are memories that will last forever. So I'm really curious. I have not talked to you about this. I struggle with this a lot. I do a lot of videos about NIL and the portal system and what's happened to sports. I believe my own opinion is we're in a total destruction mode right
yeah,
now, and if something isn't done about it, it's just going to get itself way out of control. It was always, and I think you can attest to this, that guys that were in grade school and in high school would the thought was, man, I hope I'm good enough to play for a scholarship, right?
right,
Hopefully I can get a partial scholarship or a full scholarship to pay for school. Whereas now it's changed to how much money can I, it's not the scholarship. It's how much exposure can I get? How good
right,
can I get in those younger years to prepare myself to either go from right from high school to the pros in basketball. Well, you can't anymore. You got to play 1 year. But
mm,
how much advertising, how much of a profile can be built? And then it kind of takes away a bit from the sports, in my opinion. So the NIL first before the portal transfers. What is your take on that, Luke, from where you sit at 26 years old?
just the NIL.
Yeah.
I think something did have to be done about. It's hard because there's certain players that they're the amount of money that they make for the school, like at Texas, the football program, to not see a penny seems wrong. Um, but there's got to be a better way. I think they need to strip it down, go back to how it was for a couple years, and really take their time with building a new structure because you're right, it's out of hand. Um, but it's like how is it every or absolutely nothing? Everybody gets nothing, or everybody's getting way too much. There's got to be some type of middle ground or something. I'm not sure, and I'm not going to pretend like I have a good idea or example or solution, I should say, but there's got to be a better way.
So the
It's just
the
too much.
compensation, you believe in that at the core, when a major university like Texas or Michigan or whatever, they make money off of your likeness, right? They promote
Yeah,
you, it advertises your brand, your program, you make money as a result of that. You believe there should be some sort of tie-in for the athlete. Is that right?
something, something.
Okay.
And a lot of people say, hey, well, that's what the education is. That's the free education, but a lot of them don't use the education, and I'm not sure. I thought about this a lot too, and there. I guess my best idea would be to have the payment deferred or put into account or something like that.
That's actually
So
interesting.
yeah, so if you're playing 1 year, you get it at the end of the year because I personally, if I'm 19 years old and I get $3 million, my season's over. I'm
Yeah,
not. I don't really
that
care.
was what I was going to ask you next. So that's I'm glad you went there.
Yeah.
Like, how do you
This,
feel?
yeah,
How would you
maybe
feel about that?
about what,
Somebody
getting
hands
the
you money
remil
up front because of the shoe you're wearing or because of the commercial you're doing. Is there a natural letdown to that?
letdown?
Letdown, like, do you feel like you have the same need to perform and the same need to
Oh,
prove if you already have that?
not no. It's like Conor McGregor talks about that all the time. It's like he was the best until he didn't have to be anymore. He's not getting up at 5 a.m. to run in the rain when he's in a silk bed. You know, there's no need to, and it sucks. That's I don't know. Sometimes I do wish they just never brought it in the first place. But then again, it's like some of these guys brought in a lot of money for the school, and then like a lot of them go on to play like professionally, obviously, so they're not hard up for money. But what about the guys that don't? Like Johnny Manziel, he ruined it himself. It was his fault, but to bring in that amount of money and then to just not have it or not have any for the rest of your life, you can't make money off of that. I don't know. It sucks.
And then how about the portal part of it? And yours was for a different reason. It's not like you were school jumping per se, but
Right.
you did experience that going from one school to the other. So you go through the whole process of learning a new university, new friends, new people, new system, new the whole nine yards. You're going to a new place. These guys, it's like you play for 6 months, they're leaving, going someplace else. They're playing for 6 months, and then they're leaving again. 2 and 3
Yeah.
college towns, we'll say, or universities in a 4-year
Right.
career. What's your thoughts on that?
You should have to sit out a year. I think
Like
that's
it
just
used to be.
how it is, like how it should be. You shouldn't be able to play at 4 different schools. You know that at the very least, incentivizes you to focus on what you need to do this year, because if you're out, then you're sitting out the next year, and I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like the whole 4 years, 4 schools, or 4 years, 3 schools. But it's not up to me. But if it was, I would say you got to sit out a year. You can't hop
So
around like that.
So that's how it used to be. So if you wanted to transfer from one school to the other, you give up that year of eligibility, you don't get it back.
Hmm.
So if you made that
Right.
choice to transfer to another school, you sit out for a year, you lose that. So if you leave after freshman, you lose sophomore as an athlete, then you play your junior year, you basically can't transfer again. You're basically going to
Right.
get one. You can't get more than that. And that's what it used to
Right.
be. I don't see
There
any
was
other
like
way to do this.
there was obviously exceptions too. Like you get your one and you have to sit out, but say you're going to uh I'm not sure there's ways that you can, if you need to leave, you can. And plus with all the red shirts they hand out too, medical red shirt, you can play 7 years with all these red shirts. So you could transfer twice, sitting out a year, three. So I don't know. It is interesting. And I don't know. I just wish college football was always so pure, and now we're losing it a little bit. But hopefully
It's a
something happens.
business. It's a pro. It's a
Yeah.
like there were never GMs for college
Right.
universities. Now they have to have a general manager to manage all of that. There's agents involved. I mean, legally, there were not agents involved before. Now it's part of it. They have an agent. They have a PR professional. I'm talking about the person, the player. And so there has to be an entire team at the university to be able to handle all of that influx, all of those calls, all of those demands, all of the
Right.
scheduling, all of everything. It is literally a full-time job. So you would
Yeah.
love just to wrap that part up. You'd love to see something be done differently and have the focus still be on the athletic portion of it and not as much the business portion of it, right?
Yeah. The love for the school was always so. I'll dive in a little bit more. I'll be quick because I do care about this stuff. So that's why college football is so special, is because people go to these schools, or they know their mom went to this school. Like your mom could have went to Michigan or Michigan State. you can't go to the Lions or go to the Packers. Like that's just a fan base or whatever. People have ties to these schools. So it's like a that's why college football is always the best because it's people genuinely care and the crowd is so electric. And now when you have people just jumping around, it's like, are these even like we just played him last year at Tennessee. Now he was there in a year. Like there's no, I guess loyalty is the word I'm looking for. Like you wanna love this university and love this school that you spent 4 years at, or your mom spent 4 years at, or you just grew up a fan of, and you don't get to build that like relationship with these players like you used to, like back in the day, like Mike Hart. Like you're watching him all 4 years. Like Mike Hart's gonna kill it this year. He was so good at the end of last year when he was a sophomore, and now it's just he's not even gonna be there. He's gonna be somewhere
It's
else.
changed. It's changed so
Right.
much. So one of the hottest topics that I've been very, very outspoken about, I was probably the only person in America to put it on video, that Shedeur Sanders would be drafted in the 5th round. If you go on X, you will see it.
Good call.
On January 19th, I said that. Very, very against the way that was all handled, the way he conducted himself. I saw the writing on the wall. I had a feeling that everybody was going to avoid him. Number one, I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. I don't think he's as good as some other people thinks he is. And then when you add in all the luggage, I'll call it luggage, baggage, whatever you want to say, the
Yeah.
way his dad was, the entitlement, because he's a Sanders. And as you know, I mean, you're a great example. And I just thought of this now. And I said this in the video, when you are one of 11, like his dad was, at a cornerback position, is different than when you're at the quarterback position.
Yes.
His
Yeah.
father was
Yep.
one of 11. Shedeur is supposed to be in charge of not only himself, but another 10. The organization or
Right.
the university, the entire program or franchise, the Cleveland Browns now, a fan base, a city, all of that goes with the number one most important position in all of sports. And I
Mhm.
can make an argument because there's only 32 of them in the NFL. It's one of the most important jobs in the world. Would you agree
Yeah.
with that?
I would agree 100%. And look, that's Deion Sanders' Florida State. I'm a big Deion Sanders fan because exactly how you said, he was a corner or a punt returner. You can have that big look at me personality, and it works and it's fine and people love it. If you're the quarterback, man, and you're you have a huddle of 5, 6 linemen from 5, 6 different places in America, and you got to be all about business and all about football. These people have to follow you. They have to respect. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say he's not respectable, but
I hope
they just have to
everybody
be
I hope
behind you.
everybody is hearing this, because this is a 26-year-old guy who's went through it at a different level. But this is what I talk about in my videos. And here's a guy who played quarterback and how everybody's looking at him to make the right decision. And he has to lead them. He has to follow them. Those guys got to know that quarterback is in it for the right reasons. And they aren't in
Mhm.
it just for themselves, but for the entire purpose, the entire goal, the entire team, the entire
Absolutely.
process, all of it has to be bigger than the individual, not the individual being bigger than everything else. Right, Luke?
Because the football locker rooms are all alpha males for the most part. So you got to. There's only one way to lead, to be the alpha of alphas, and it's not being flashy. It's putting your head down, going to work, and leading by example. You can't be. I mean, who knows? Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but I feel like he's going to have problems in the locker room and have a hard time getting a left tackle from you know Hicksville, Iowa, to get behind him when he's like showing his watches and stuff.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. They're trying to rehab him now, in my opinion, rehab his image in terms of
Image,
the way
yeah,
he acts. But when you're a certain kind of way for 21 years, and that was embedded in you, and that was allowed, and that was encouraged, and you saw what he did during the draft process, and how there's this, oh, it's race, and oh, it's collusion, and oh, look what they did to
right,
him. He's the one that chose to hold up and flash the jewelry. He's the one that chose not to go to the
right.
draft and build an entire studio in the house and have all this production and, what he said about, do you know who my father is at the combine? Like, if you're trying to get people to run away from you, again, at the quarterback position, you cannot get away with that. You can get away with that
Right.
maybe as a linebacker, if you're Antonio Brown as a wide receiver to a degree,
Exactly.
Dion as a cornerback. There's a lot of those flashy, high profile guys that do that. If you're a
Mhm.
quarterback, forget about it. And I think they're figuring that out now. And how Dion didn't realize this, being where he was and why
Right.
it's so different. I don't know if this is going to change. Do you think it will?
I think for Shador,
Yeah.
I I think he's law. I think there's 5 quarterbacks on that roster, and he's getting all. I saw something online. It was like Cam Ward was crying and having his moment or whatever, and they're like their response was like, "We missed this on draft night because they were showing Shador Sanders highlights." Like, why?
Yeah.
And it was he's getting all that, and I don't think it. I don't think he does. I don't think he plays well.
You don't think what?
When he gets a chance. I don't think he's going to do well when he gets a chance. Maybe he does. Hopefully, I would never hope for somebody to do bad, but uh, we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know
I
why
think
they
it's
would.
Dylan Gabriel's job to lose. I think he has all of the tools, the leadership. He's
Right.
just a very skillful guy in his communication, the way he articulates. Obviously he led Oklahoma, he led Oregon. These are massive schools. No knock
Right.
on Colorado, okay? But he played for different coaches. I think a lot of people don't understand that he played for his father, meaning Shador. He played for his father his entire
Right.
career. So let's just say you played for me your entire career and you knew no other way. And then you went to the NFL and now you have to accept, well, first of all, you're not my son. Imagine if your dad coached you your whole life, all
Mhm.
the way through college, and he did a ridiculous jersey retirement ceremony. And then you were going to go to go to an NFL draft, get drafted by somebody, and you were taught such an extreme way. How do you, how do
Mhm.
you, how do you change that and do it for somebody else at the highest level?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you take coaching too from people? I don't know. I feel like, especially with his dad's not just a loudmouth. He was the best. So if you hear something from him, you're gonna do it.
Yeah, he
It's
probably
it's
thinks
law
it
pretty
worked out
much.
great for my dad, but the dichotomy, the
Right.
dynamic of it all, positionally, is completely different. And the attention part of it, that is a big deal, and it's going to get old, and it's already old.
Yeah.
I mean, he's at a
It's old.
rookie
Yeah.
mini camp right now. Everything's focused around him. Everyone's getting asked the question, and it's like, why are you asking me about him? This is
Right.
about us. This is about the Browns. This is about, hey, we're here.
Exactly.
We're getting to know each other. We're getting a chance to show some things on the field, but it's all about him. It's not going to stop. If I'm sure you saw it because you're a big fan. When he was drafted, did you see the booth with all of the coaches in there and Jimmy Haslam, the owner, and the golf clap when they drafted him? Did you
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You can tell that
They weren't.
coach, GM, they understood what happened at that moment. Now it's all going to come with. If you
Yep.
don't play him, you're either racist or you're a hater or you're this. If you do play him, you did it because of that. There's just no win-win here.
Right. That's why. That's why he fell so far, because you're not just
Right.
drafting a guy. You're not drafting a player. But I mean, history repeats itself. If you just look at quarterbacks that have been successful, it, it's right in front of you. You don't want to draft somebody that is like that. That is all me, 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 me. The last person to do that
It's Manziel
probably Johnny Manziel. Yeah,
and
and
Baker
then
Mayfield 1.0 before he realized that he could no
yeah,
longer go on that way because nobody wanted him. And then he completely changed
uh-huh.
his attitude.
Yeah, that's my guy. I love Baker Mayfield, and yeah, no, you're 100% right. He was like that too, but yeah,
They didn't respect him.
character development.
Yeah, they didn't respect him, and
Right.
he was a marked man. And those guys don't like that stuff. When it's all
Right.
about you and you're this selfish guy and the way that you act, someone is looking to get around the end and hunt you down just a little bit more. And they
Yeah.
did that with Manziel. Everybody wanted to pound that guy, and
Yep.
everybody knows if a guy's underneath on the bottom of a huddle and the defensive player gets up, they lean on him, right? They push off to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
up off the ground. You know that he was
Yes.
taking a lot of extra shots.
No doubt. Yep. And then on the other side of the coin, you look at Brady, Manning, even like Russell Wilson. Like Russell Wilson is kind of corny or whatever, but he's focused on one thing when he shows up to work, and you know
Yeah.
that, and the team knows that, and he won Super Bowls.
Drew Brees, Eli Manning. You can even go to the a lot of the current guys like Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. Now,
Yeah.
who has a more of a right to be
Even
flamboyant?
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, but there's another one, and now he's got
Sure.
a championship. But
Yeah.
Patrick Holmes can walk, and he does a lot of commercials. I got that. There's nothing wrong with commercials. Peyton Manning did Nationwide Insurance forever, and a whole bunch of
Yeah.
other,
Yeah. 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 No, that's not a
commercials.
bet.
But it's just the way
Yeah.
you conduct yourselves, and there's a way that you must go about your business. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. One of the things too that, and I'm sure you remember us talking back in the gym about how I disliked LeBron James so much and the way that he
Oh yeah.
acted
We
way
always
he
disagreed on
conducted
this.
himself. How do you view that now? And the way he's conducted himself, the flopping, the things that he has said and done. What's your take on that?
You know, I think I think LeBron's the best of all time, but
Uh-oh.
we've yeah, yeah. I gave up a little bit of ground though. Um, I think Jordan is the greatest as far as influence, um, impact, and just the way that he's remembered. Like people, yeah, he's the greatest. But I still personally feel like if LeBron's bigger, faster, stronger, better shooter, better athlete in general, I think he's a better player. I think LeBron's the best basketball player to ever live. I don't agree with how he plays sometimes or whatever. And again, I didn't watch Michael Jordan. I wasn't born yet, so I've only seen highlights and lowlights. But LeBron's just a specimen that you can't. I don't know. He
All right, we'll have to save that. We'll have to save that debate, and I'll explain to you all the reasons why I disagree another time. But now that you're
fine.
older and you look at life through a completely different lens, if you had a 14-year-old right now, which is basically when I started to coach you, who would you like to see them emulate as either a football player or a basketball player in today's world?
Oh, that's a great question. Uh,
Today's game, is
yeah,
it
I'm thinking Steph Curry. He's just he
from a
doesn't
from a work ethic standpoint and the way he's a
yeah.
maniac that way?
Yeah, and he seems like the kind he just I'm trying to think of people like that just demand respect pretty much. Like he'll bring his daughter up and he does what he wants to do and it's always respectful. But when he like that's Steph Curry and he knows that that that's Steph Curry and I don't know, he's the biggest name and he's never had any drama or anything like that. Same with LeBron, which
Off
is
the
why
court,
I like
on the
LeBron
court.
as well. Yeah, but they got married, they got their kids, they keep to themselves, and seems like really good teammates too. And exactly like you said, he's an absolute maniac
Yeah, he's got
in the
4
gym.
rings, and he's got 4 rings. He's 37 now, and he's
Mhm.
still putting in the same kind of work, for
Yeah,
whatever that drive is. Is it to get to 5 championships like Kobe, and you're in really rare, I mean, he's in rare air right now, but in my
yeah, for sure.
opinion, he's one of the greatest change makers of the game in history. And if
Hmm.
you may not have seen it, I went through my top 15 all-time basketball players. It's on my YouTube channel, and I have Steph, I think, at number 6, because like Jordan changed the game in the air. but able to do things in the air
Yeah.
after Julius Erving, who's really the first guy to go in the air, but he wasn't talented like Michael. And then Steph obviously can score from anywhere on the floor. You have to pick him up inside of the other half court because, dude, he'll shoot it from the logo and he'll make it, 8 out of 10
Right.
times. So you have to respect that.
Right.
So he changed the game so much. He's got 4 championships. Usually he's always in the conversation to win another. Obviously this year didn't work out, but
Right.
to have a guy push that much and do it the right way, I think that's a great choice by you. And I think that is a good person for young people to role model or to model
Definitely.
themselves after.
Definitely. Especially, he's what, 6'3" or
3.
something? Yeah, so he doesn't have the size or whatever. He's probably been told he was too small always, and that's tapping into a different part of your mind, saying, "No, I'm not too small. I'm gonna, either find a way or make one." And yeah, I
And his
respect that. I'm not even
handle,
a Steph Curry fan.
what's that?
I don't even like the war. I don't like Steph. Like, I'm not a fan really. I just think like I don't root for the Warriors or anything like that. He's a really good like role model, person to look up to for sure.
Gotcha. What's your thoughts on the Pistons evolution from where they were, say, 3
Ooh,
years ago to now, and what you think going forward?
day and night, baby. Hopefully, if they keep going the same trajectory after last year, they should go undefeated next year.
Yeah. The Pistons?
Yeah.
Undefeated. What
I'm
do you mean
saying
undefeated?
I'm saying from being literally what they have 7 wins to
Yeah,
this
yeah.
year to they
Okay.
should be probably the best team of all time if they stay on that, which isn't possible. I know, I'm joking, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're it was immaculate what they did this year. It was awesome. Cade really came into his own. Um, yeah, I'd love to see it. And we're
What are
young,
your thoughts on Cade as a player?
ethical ball player. I love how he plays the game. He doesn't just try to get to the line, or he doesn't just shoot threes, or he's a true 3-level scorer. He plays defense. He'll get on the floor. He does it all, and I really respect that. I hate, shouldn't say hate, that's a bad word, but I dislike like Shea Gilgeous, how he plays SGA. Just, it feels like ticky tacky and not true basketball to me. It feels like, I'm not sure if
Interesting.
you feel the same way. Jalen Brunson, same thing. They're talented guys. They can play for sure, but it's just when they get the ball in a set offense, something weird's going to happen. They're going to go flop, or they're going to do something. I don't know. I don't like it. But
So
Cade
you
is true basketball.
okay, so
In my
that's
opinion.
all right. So I'll tell you a quick story. When he got drafted by the Pistons, #1 overall, I went crazy, and then not in a good way. I hated it.
Okay.
And the reason I hated it was I viewed him at Oklahoma State as a floater. And I'm going to shock you right now. I'm going to probably shock you a little bit. The first thing I thought of was you.
For Cade?
Cade had a lot of talent, but I didn't see him going at all times. I'm talking about at Oklahoma
Mhm.
State. I saw him
Right.
know that he had it. I swear to you that I thought of you. And I thought, and he was #2 and you were #3. I thought this guy is missing the oomph. He's missing the instinct, the killer instinct. He's playing so laid
Right.
back. He can be another click or two ahead, and I hated it. Then I went in the last 2 years, and now that I have the show, I've basically apologized for the thought process, and that I was proven wrong, and that he's developing very close to being a top 10 NBA player right now. And then I was
Yeah.
pissed at game 5 and game 6 against the Knicks because I saw him go back, in my opinion. I thought I saw him go back to that floating, not being aggressive, playing deferral basketball, not taking the game in his hands when they're not set up. They don't have a legitimate second or third scorer. There's a time
Right.
where a guy like that's got to kind of take over the game and get his team over the hump. I saw him in what I was looking at, I saw him kind of resist that and steer away from that, and was
Yeah.
deferring and giving up the ball and kind of hoping somebody else would do it. and he was kind of staying in the perimeter. Really, really bothered me. What's your take on that? Did you see that at all?
I did, and yeah, he did seem like he didn't want the ball. Um, yeah, and you said a good word. What'd you say? Deferring.
He was playing
Yeah,
deferral basketball. He was deferring to
yeah,
others.
yeah. Not even. Yeah, I know what you're saying. And he wasn't making passes to get an open shot. He was making passes to get rid of the ball. And yeah, I don't know. I
And I
don't
didn't
know.
see him work without the basketball too, which is
True.
which is obviously super important.
Yeah,
He's the number one
that's
option. You have
definitely.
to play that way.
You have to. You're right. And he did. I don't know. Maybe he missed that game winner. Um, maybe he didn't want to miss it again or something. I'm not sure, but
Well, he better get rid of that mentality because I think
he
it's
has to. I know.
7,300 shots Jordan missed. I mean, you can't stop from taking the next one
Right.
if you want to be great. I mean, you just have to.
Yeah. Hopefully it was a one time thing, and I don't want to. I don't want to. I think he had such a good year and impressed me a lot that I don't want to
Take
overextend
away.
and say,
Mhm.
yeah, right. And if you told me that he was even in that position, that the Pistons were even in that position, I would have been happy. So
I'm
we'll
with
see
you.
going forward. But you're right. Yeah, we'll see, man. I'm excited to see though.
It doesn't take away from the season, and I don't want to take away from it either. But it's his first playoff, and it's the
Right,
only body of work we have now. So now you go to the playoffs again. He's got to raise his game at that next level. Now
yeah,
you've gotten there, but now you got to raise that level, and that's not always easy to do. They should get a second
right,
score. They'll get a third score. They'll build through the draft. He'll have Ivy if they keep him. They'll have him
right.
back, and there'll be some other options, and it won't all necessarily fall on him. Love Tobias Harris for what he is, but he's not a legitimate second option. He's just not. Malik Beasley, he's not a second option. Tim Hardaway, he's not a
Yeah,
second option. Those are role players. That's
with a
not a
lot of room.
legitimate two.
Yeah.
So,
What
in
do you think about
fairness
Thompson?
to Cade, he doesn't have that.
What's that?
I
No,
said,
what do you think
in
about
fairness to Cade, he doesn't have that. It does all fall on him. But hey, I
Thompson? Yeah.
watched guys like Kobe and Michael at times in their career that didn't have somebody else, and they can take over the moment and rise above.
You know who else? LeBron in
Ugh.
Cleveland. In
I'm just
Cleveland
not
when
a
he went to
fan, Luke. We'll
finals.
save that for another day
No,
because I
I
got a
know,
lot
I
of
know, I
feelings
know.
about that. I'll just say that I think that the game has went down substantially in viewership,
Yeah, that's fair.
popularity. I think he did a lot of things to harm the game and will be remembered for as much of what he did to hurt the game as he did to help the game. But we'll save that for another time. All right, kind of wrapping it up here. What's your thoughts on the Lions? There's another one that was in the tank,
Yeah,
and man, longer than you have been alive did I suffer as a Lions fan with them doing nothing times
yeah.
two, 40, 50, 60 years. And now to have this the last 4 years, what's your thoughts overall on the Lions progression and what you think for this year?
Um, I shout out to Dan Campbell, man. He exceeded expectation big time, and he keeps doing it. The loss. It's kind of the same thing I was talking about with the Pistons that I don't want to take away, but the loss to the 49ers, that was brutal. That was the worst day ever. We were up. I don't know what we were up at halftime, but we completely folded. And then we have two losses in 2 years that I think that's two Super Bowl. Like the jump is crazy. We weren't even going to the playoffs, and now we. I don't know. Did he draft good, or is he developing these guys? What do you think? Because we're loaded.
No, I think that they're loaded. They're crazy deep. They're deep at every position, which
Yeah.
is so important. Obviously, we saw that last year with your entire defense being decimated, and to win,
Hmm.
15 games like that, when you lose arguably the greatest edge rusher in the game, and every level, your line, your second level, your third level, your cornerbacks are decimated, and to play at that level and achieve, I think, is a great reflection on the coaching, the system, the philosophy, the togetherness, all of that. And I think this offseason, and not in a sexy way, but Tate Rutledge and Miles Frazier, these guys
Yeah.
they're hogs like the old Washington Redskins. These guys are battlers, they're trench guys. And they understand that, you can have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you can have Jameson Williams, you can have Tesla, who I actually think is going to be a steal. You can have Gibbs, you can have all of that, but if you can't protect,
Right.
protect and be able to run the ball, you're not going to be successful. And if you can't stop the run and get after the quarterback, you're not going to be successful. So I see them continue to develop. The window is still open. And one of the things about Brad
Oh
Holmes
yeah.
is he doesn't spend crazy money and just go get the sexy free agent like a Myles Garrett for 40, 45 million when you have to sign Hutchinson to that deal. You
Hmm.
can't allocate $90 million for your two edge rushers like Cincinnati. And we'll see. I'm all on record about that. You cannot have Burrow and Chase and Higgins. They have $126 million out of a $276 million cap allocated to three guys on offense. You counting on winning every game 42-38. It's just if you
Right.
can't stop anybody, you got a problem. So no, I think that the
God
Lions
forbid
are on
one
a
of them
great
gets a
track.
sore ankle.
What's that?
I said, God forbid one of those three guys rolls his ankle or something, and
Yeah,
then
what are you going to do?
yeah,
There's nobody behind them. There's nobody behind and both O line, D line, linebacker. It can really end badly. You got to hope for the perfect scenario. Everything's got to work out just fine
yeah, every week.
every week.
And but like you were saying, Brad Holmes, he came out. I don't know if it was last year, 2 years ago. Said, me and Dan Campbell, we're not drafting. We're drafting people that fit our puzzle. We're drafting personalities. We're drafting mentalities. They're like you said, it's not the sexy pick, but it's somebody that can come into Detroit, into the locker room, embody what they've been doing, and just not skip a beat on this transition that we're going through. And I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I feel like they don't even look at the draft boards. I don't think. I think they really sit down, have their interviews, their pre-draft interviews and workouts, and just go based off that and say, don't worry about what everybody else is saying, where they're ranking these guys and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
that's awesome.
there's definitely a philosophy and a fit guy that they're looking for. And you probably haven't seen it yet. It just went out yesterday. Was my entire season preview. It's about 30 minutes. It goes through the entire Lions the schedule, win loss. I talk about each matchup, etc. And it is a brutal schedule. And when you're good, it's the top three hardest schedule in the NFL. When
Yeah,
you're good, you play tougher teams. When you're not as good, you play lesser teams. Now, a lot of people are freaked out about this. Oh my God, if they win 9 games, if they win 10 games, they'll be lucky. The Lions, in
yeah,
my opinion, are built this way. They're not going to melt because you have
no,
Philadelphia and KC, and you've got the Ravens, and you've got a lot of Washington, a lot of really good teams. They're designed for this, and they can play any kind of
mhm,
ball. You want to play indoors, outdoors. If they need to run the ball, they can. You need to pass the ball, you can. You need to get after the quarterback, you can. They can play in any system, any way you want it. It's basically pick your poison. If you asked me that 10 years ago, I'd say, yeah, it's you're looking at 2-14
yeah,
thing.
right,
Not now.
right. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's kind of, they you want a harder schedule. You don't want, as much as it is nice to have an automatic win like last year we played Jacksonville. Like, there's you want to take out the best. You want to believe that you can beat anybody. Especially going in the playoffs. If we get through that schedule with 12 wins, 12, if we
So
if
you
we have
did
a
see my video.
no, I didn't. Is
I
this what
had
you said?
13-4, um, and at worst
Okay.
12-5.
All right. Yeah. If we get through that if we get through that, and not to mention we're in the toughest division in football with all these other outside games. So if we get through that 12 wins, 13 wins, how confident are you going in the playoffs? We beat anybody.
Mm-hmm. And I said,
Instead of being one of those teams that's like, oh, who they even play this year? We don't know. We never faced a defense, or we blew everybody out. Like, I don't know. We've never had to come from behind before. We're gonna see a little bit of everything.
in that 30-minute video, I did a cut about a minute reel or a minute 15-second reel. And the part that I cut was about how we play up to our competition and we play down to our competition by human nature. It's in the
Yeah.
it's in the human psyche. It's the human condition that if we play against teams that we're supposed to beat or people think we're supposed to beat, generally speaking, you're up against it in terms of getting your best effort. When you play
Yeah.
against a team that you're supposed to get destroyed by and everybody thinks you're going to get destroyed by or lose, you tend to raise your game. The way the Lions are constructed, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man, right? If you want to
Right.
be the best, you got to beat the best. And that is incorporated in the character of each one of these guys, each one of these coaches, to where they won't run from this. They'll meet it head
Right.
on. And they'll meet it head on if they're fully healthy, if they're medium healthy, or like last year when they were just completely, everybody was on injured reserve, 16, 18 guys. It's insanity. And
Yeah.
most on defense. So they're prepared for this. I think that they'll be fine.
Totally injured. Going to San Francisco, don't need to win at the end of the year last year. Gave it all they had.
Yeah, and they were
That's
asking
just how
Campbell,
it
"You
is.
going to rest your guys?" He's like, "What are you talking about? We're
Yeah.
not resting our guys.
Yeah.
We want to go into the playoffs in a certain kind of way or go into the bye." Well, they needed that win.
Exactly.
Well, Minnesota had already blown it, right? So they didn't have to win that to get the bye. Am I correct?
Yeah, we didn't need to win, right?
Yeah, and he
We could have
wanted
lost
it
and been the
matters
home
how
team.
you win and it matters how you lose. I've gotten screamed at forever. Sean Belizean, I'm sure you know who he is, a radio personality from Detroit for many, many years,
Okay.
has said it since the day I listened to him when I was freaking 15 or whatever. He'd say, "A win is a win. It doesn't matter how you play as long as you get a win." I couldn't disagree more. It matters
Yeah.
how you win. It matters how you lose. It matters how you perform when you're supposed to, and it matters how you perform, in other moments where you didn't do what you were supposed to do. All of that factors in, and if you have the coaching and you have, Spielman's up in the upper management of the league now. The attitude is all the way up at the top with Sheila Hamp Ford when she took over, Spielman in that level, then Brad Holmes in his level, then Dan Campbell in his level, then all the way down through the freaking water boy. It's a certain mentality, it's a certain attitude that they have, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best. It's a hard-nosed Detroit football.
Yeah, so this is
And
the
I'm
5th year
excited.
for me. I opened my mouth when Campbell took over, not that we're gonna bite their kneecaps off comment, but when somebody said, a reporter asked him, "What about the same old Lions SOL?" And he says, "I don't wanna hear that shit around here ever again." It is at that moment that I said that the Lions would be in the Super Bowl within 5 years. This is year 5 coming up. That San
Okay,
Francisco
let's
game,
see it.
you're up 17, you end up losing the game, right? They were there.
Yeah.
This is it. And now they got to
Yeah.
play the
Well,
toughest schedule that I could ever remember them playing. And they got to get through it and get to the Super Bowl for that to come true.
yeah, it is a brutal schedule. It is a tough one. They got a tough schedule, but it's good. It's good.
So what's next for Luke at this point in time? What's life like now, and what's around the corner for you? What you working on? What can you tell our audience as we close it up?
Oh shoot. Can you hear that?
Yeah,
The
that's
dog.
okay. The dog.
Yeah, I'm just working, trying to grow a business right now. It's a staffing recruiting business with my brother-in-law. Um, that takes up a lot of time, and we're trying to get it there. We're trying to do the thing. So there's that on the side. Getting into jujitsu, which
Nice. You have to
yep,
teach
we'll
me a
see
thing
how
or
that
two.
goes. Yeah, my cousin lives down here. He's a black belt in jujitsu, so he's been teaching me a little bit. Um, go play basketball at the park. I was there a couple days ago. Stay active, stay fit.
You got a you got a girlfriend?
I'm focused on some other stuff. My eyes are open, but not no, I don't.
Gotcha. You're playing the solo life right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to really, um, I guess, I want to establish myself. I want to have my feet completely underneath me before I get into something.
That's a great. I think that's a great way to think about it. And have you ever considered getting into coaching in any way? Has it ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, it's crossed my mind. I think about it a lot. I definitely want to have kids and coach my kids, but yeah, yeah, no, I think about it. I think I'd be good.
If you were to coach one sport, which one would you want it to be? If you could only pick one. I know what you're gonna say.
Probably basketball.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
I could see that.
yeah,
That would be cool. I'd be your biggest supporter. I'm a big fan of yours as a person. You know, you impacted my life 10, 12 years ago. Hey, I've even learned some things from you in this conversation. It's really awesome to see how you've matured, how you developed, how you evolved. And I think you have great parents, and I think you're certainly a product of that. And it's really great to see that you stayed on track, man. You made up your mind what you wanted to do, and no matter what happened, you stayed true to that, even when there were difficult moments and forks in the road with me or with Essler, or I'm sure there
yeah,
injury and other times where, hey, what am I doing? You know, should I continue at this? You know, those second guessing, those self-limiting beliefs that pop up, and you've bulldozed through all of that, and I'm really proud of you, man. And it's great to watch this, 10, 12 years later. I'm excited about what the future holds for you, and no matter what, I can do whatever I can do. I will always be there to help you in any way, and it's great to know that you're in Florida now. We'll have to hook up soon.
yeah. Absolutely, I appreciate all that, and you like you said it, you impacted my life as well, and yeah, I remember those days clear, and they were definitely some of the roots of you know what I've grown into as a young adult over here. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, Luke. All right, everybody, that completes week 34. Thanks for joining us. We'll be doing more like this. Well, maybe we'll have Luke back at another time. We'll get this get this recording over to you to Luke, so you could share it with your friends, your family. We'll get some cuts made up
All right.
of some of the things you said. So until next time, everybody, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend. Remember, hug someone, hold someone, love someone. Life is short. Take care, everybody. Bye bye now.
Absolutely.